Detroit is different. Detroit is different. I can feel it. Detroit is different.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I have somebody that I wanted to be here for a long time. And when I say rolling out the red carpet for people that are ingraced and deep in community, it don't really get more deeper than this woman. When I first met her, it was a community forum. We were over at Feed 'em Freedom. This was in 21. And she was like, look, you were right about some of this stuff, but you need to know this, and this. And I was like, hold on. I was like, Mr. Orlando Bailey, who is this woman and how don't I know her already? And then Orlando started laughing and he said, well, you know, that is Brenda Butler. Miss Brenda Butler, how are you today?
All is well. All is well.
Oh, definitely. Holding things down, looking fly. You in the autumn colors already, too.
Already.
I'm with it. So we're going to definitely talk, as you were like, all right, now, what we talking about? And I said, all right, you're going for some community advisory because you definitely know a lot of stuff that happens in community. And I said, okay, this is a perfect opportunity for you to come on Detroit is Different. And we're going to talk a lot about city and how city and community engage. But starting with the roots, how do your people get up to Detroit? How many generations deep?
5.5 generations deep.
Wow.
From Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay, Birmingham, Alabama's. So I definitely, it's a strong connection between Birmingham and Detroit. A lot of the folks that are here, that black folks, it seems like Georgia and Alabama are too. In Birmingham, a lot of folks, a lot of people from that Alabama state. Did you travel back and forth? Did you travel often to Birmingham and Alabama?
Since I've been here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I traveled a lot when it was $90 round trip on the airplane.
Okay.
But for the first 15, 20 years that I was here, I was home every summer.
Wow. Okay.
Every summer.
Okay. So even that connection, what was the neighborhood? What do you remember about Alabama down there, just traveling back and forth? And what was the Detroit influence of, like, what's the Alabama-Detroit influence? Because there's a lot of people from Alabama here in Detroit.
Well, one of the reasons that I relocated here was because of my father.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a coal miner, and the coal mine went down, and we decided to locate to Detroit because some of his other brothers and sisters and my grandmother had already migrated in the early 60s.
Okay.
So I really, as far as the working conditions were better coming here. Actually, I was 20 years old when I moved to Detroit. So I did land some jobs and got a little better pay, but not a whole lot, you know. But it was very good to be a part of my immediate family. It was more of them here than it was left in Birmingham.
Okay, so most moved up this way. What neighborhood did they move to?
My grandmother had moved to the Gratiot Woods neighborhood, right around Gratiot and Crane.
Okay, all right. So Eastside.
Eastside first.
All right.
And I had uncles on the west side.
Okay.
In the District 2.
All right, so like kind of, well, this District 5 now, but it used to be District 2.
Right, then it went from there to, well, somewhere in Saginaw, Michigan, Flint, Michigan. So they were everywhere here. Okay. So and that was a good experience for me because it helped me to learn the city.
Okay. All right. And coming up here from that, I guess also, what do you remember standing out about some of that culture coming to Detroit as, my father, he comes here in 75. 5 himself, and he just talks so much about like a lot of the things he saw. My interview with Charlie Beckham, he's from Cincinnati too, talking about what he saw. What do you remember standing out about just coming to Detroit and the culture of Detroit?
Well, I landed in Detroit right after the 1967 uprising.
Wow.
So everything was torn up in certain areas, and my relatives who already lived here, they took us so that we could see what had happened. Matter of fact, I had an aunt that lived right off of Burlingame that we really got a chance to see the destruction. And it was devastating to me because I really didn't want to come to Detroit. And I was like, I asked my dad, why you bring me here? You know? So it was really, it was kind of terrifying to me also, even though I had been in the civil rights movement and we saw some bombings and some destruction, but not like
what you saw
what I
from
saw
that
when I got here.
Okay, and let's definitely talk a little bit about that in Alabama in the civil rights movement there. So much of what's talked about is, I'm obviously reading about it, but it's a relationship between Detroit and what's happening with SNCC, SELC, and a lot of organizing there. Your work in the civil rights movement, because you're 20, that means you're really young. When do you start, I guess, joining the activist cause?
At 14 years old, there was a Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth in my community. We would go to meetings at the church about segregation, and he spoke with us about we need to change this colored fountain and white fountain, and where we were going in the back door to go to a restaurant. If we could even go to the restaurant, we sat upstairs at the movie. We couldn't sit on the first floor. And that he wanted to see a better generation for us. So we just started having meetings with the young people in the community.
And at 14, and I also want to highlight this is sometimes I do this with Detroit is Different. I got a moment in time. So Fred Shuttlesworth is a champion figure when it comes to the civil rights movement. That's like casually it would be, for of today saying that so we was hanging out and then, Michelle Obama was just like, hey, we could do this. So it's did you recognize the gravity and the role you all were playing in history at the time? Because you're in Birmingham, Alabama. Did it seem like you were changing what started as where you live, but from where you live to the South to the nation to the world? Did it feel like that at 14?
It didn't so much at 14 as it did by the time I got 15, 16.
Wow.
Because we had gotten involved in voter registration. And at that time, I was a member of the First Baptist Church in Inslee, which the minister of the First Baptist Church in Inslee was the brother of Reverend Martin Luther King, Reverend A.D. King. So once the movement decided to involve the young people in voter registration, we set up our training center at the church. So what we did was every day we would go to school. In the evenings, we would come and have little sessions to talk about the percentage of Black people that were actually registered to vote in our neighborhoods across the city and how we could change that. So the game plan was to knock on doors 3 days a week the first week. The second week, you stayed inside and you trained the neighbors the answers to the questions to become a registered voter. And those questions were civic questions about Birmingham, Alabama. So you had to learn, they had to answer 10 questions correct in order to become a registered voter. So we trained, our neighbors would come in and we would have classes. And then all of the gentlemen in the neighborhood that had cars, once we get maybe 10, 15 people trained, they would take them down. So every day we were sending people down to register, to become registered voters in the city of Birmingham. And it was expressed to us how important our vote would be to change the things in our neighborhood and in our schools. Because in our schools, we were only being taught Alabama history and U.S. history.
Okay. All right. I definitely have a question about, I mean, because I'm thinking 1960s, before a lot of the civil rights movement, what was Alabama history like? Was that just basically Confederate history?
It was just Confederate history. That's what we were learning. And I was fortunate in the 6th grade to have an Alabama history teacher that was involved also in how the local government works and politics works. And she was fortunate enough to get us the congressional records from Washington, D.C., at least every 2 months. And we would go through those congressional records and see the bills that was passed. So we learned how that worked. So then she decided, okay, we'll take current bills that are being passed in Alabama and compare that with what is happening in the U.S. Congress. So I really had a real good start in learning how local government works, how federal government and state government works.
All right, and this is still teenage you.
Yes, I'm in the 6th, 7th grade.
Okay, so man, oh man, this is even before that. So this is really young, just taking on this information, and this is also, for my younger people, it's no like Google, it's no Chat GPT. This is like you really have to get books, open them, read them, pages, dockets of, as you're saying, like congressional laws being passed and bills being written, and reading that. If you ever fancy yourself to read a congressional bill, it takes like a legal mind because it's written in a lot of legality.
Exactly. And she would break it down, and then we would take, if it was a bill similar, if there was a situation similar in the state of Alabama that was going on at that time, then we would compare. And we would also be required to read the newspaper every day.
Oh, man. Okay, so this is a whole different type of experience of what you're taking on at a very young age.
Yes.
I would say also this is Alabama. I mean, even, as we see, America's America today, but Alabama then, as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X more so, I guess, poetically said, some of them changed in them white sheets for them badges sometimes. So like, you still have a presence of, to call it segregation is undercutting it. You have the presence of terror. The Ku Klux Klan is a terrorist organization. I don't know why our government does not recognize it as that, but that's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
Especially to Black communities that are looking to do something constructive and progressive. And Alabama is a hotbed of where that's taking place, kind of connected to, as I said, the Confederate history. My nerdisms of finding out about like a lot of those Confederate statues are actually being placed, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s through those daughters of the Confederacy to like, I guess, build back the self-esteem and these white men that were in the American South. But along with that, clearly is the terrorism that exists. How real are you keeping in mind of this, reading about freedom riders and the potential for violence, bombings? How aware are you in what you're doing, the safety of what it is, and staying aware and away from some of those dangers?
Well, actually, I didn't really know a lot about the Ku Klux Klan until I was a senior in high school, because I was born and raised in the city of Birmingham.
Okay.
We visited the rural areas where some of my family live. But mostly what I experienced was the prejudice going shopping. You go to a five and dime store and the clerk would service the white kids or the white mothers and fathers and have us waiting and service us when they got ready. So, and we also I lived in a neighborhood where it was blacks and Italians. But the Italians they had grocery stores in the neighborhood. And if they were fortunate enough to have their grocery store with the home attached, then they stayed in the neighborhood and they brought their kids up in the neighborhood until their girls got a certain age, and then they had a second home. So we couldn't play with them anymore, in other words, okay? So those are the things that I really experienced, or getting on the bus and not being able to sit in the front. Those are the things that I experienced. But as far as the Ku Klux Klan and so forth, I didn't. I experienced bombing during the Civil Rights Movement when they bombed Martin Luther King's brother's parsonage. And that was like maybe 7 blocks from where I lived.
Wow. Okay. And so this is happening and you're staying heavy, still involved in this movement up until the point when you moved to Detroit.
Exactly.
So now you move to Detroit, you're getting an understanding of the lay of the land, where family is at and everything. Where does your political mind go as far as learning what's happening politically in Detroit? Are you paying attention to it? Where is that passion go?
Okay, so that passion came when I continued my community service work as I did with the Civil Rights Movement. And I wanted to get in, Reverend Shuttlesworth and some of the other ministers, they knew when we were relocating to Detroit, and they knew how passionate I was about my Black heritage. And so they told me about the political part. And that when I got here, wherever I lived, to try to get information on the Democratic Party in my neighborhood. So, fortunately, I moved to the 13th Congressional District.
Ain't that something?
But I was very disappointed because I went to the meetings. I said where I was from. I was all proud of what I had, been through and everything. But there was no attention. So I got discouraged. And I registered to vote. And I voted, and I really didn't have anybody to tell me a lot about the people who were running for office. So the only thing I could go by was when I learned about the Black Slate. So I just voted for people that was on the Black Slate, but never knowing. Okay, so I really, really learned more about government and politics was when I was appointed to the administration of our very first Wayne County executive, Bill Lucas.
Okay. All right. So we definitely got to talk about some Bill Lucas stories, because you barely hear Bill Lucas uplifted, but you moved to Detroit during a time where, unlike a lot of other places in the nation, I mean, you got Charles Diggs and his legacy. I want to say it's like a book that just was released about a lot of what he did in Congress and office. Conyers is here. It's definitely Black folks. I mean, this is a chocolate city, but even from that same lens of Congress, but stepping into that space and even knowing Shuttlesworth's and this is this is a Kari Frazier point of view of how I put history together, how people make it. All right. Like right now, when right now, the NAACP stands up and says, like, hey, we marched right with Dr. King and Governor Romney and everything. But it was a point in time where it was a lot of people in Detroit that were not supportive of Dr. King, and they were Black. And just like Black folks really kind of across the nation, he was seen as more of a disruptor and kind of like not, how do I put this? Some of the movement was not, they felt that he wasn't like falling in line the way things should fall in line. So let's just put that into a perspective for people. And right now, I think history kind of looks a little bit different, but it felt different. So I want to frame that for people. So Bill Lucas, Wayne County, how do you make that connection? And what was it about the Lucas administration that made you say, okay, this is something that's welcoming for me?
Well, before I should step back, before that, I did work on, I was a volunteer on a school board campaign with Mr. Bell. It was Emma Bell's husband.
Okay.
Ran for school board.
Okay.
So I got to learn a little there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so from there was when I did meet some of the, like I met Coleman Young and John Conyers. And then later I got involved in I was with the American Red Cross. So I got involved where I met a lot of the nonprofit people.
Okay.
So I just took
some of those relationships,
all of those relationships, and kind of put them together. But when I tell you about my knowledge of government, I was working in government and I was learning government and self-teaching myself on how that related to the elected officials, how the government worked on every level. And I just kept learning on my own.
Kind of from
just from the experience.
From the experience, but also kind of you had some seeds in you from how you learned it even back in Alabama, learning federal and local at the same time, simultaneously.
Exactly. And then it tied in with the Democratic Party. I could see why things was why I was treated the way I was treated when I first got here and tried to learn more about politics. So when I was in the Bill Lucas administration, then I learned more about the Democratic Party.
And also, this also leads to other things that my dad and many others will say. And kind of the reason Detroit is different exists. This is still a very cliquish town. So like, if you're like many other cities, it probably doesn't matter when people say, what high school you go to? And it's like, okay, why should it matter? Because it's like, I'm going to ask somebody that probably graduated around the time you graduated there just to kind of vet, like, who do you know? How do you hang around? Where you from? Detroit can be like that, you know? So I do want to uplift that too.
Okay.
Even in politically, you know what I'm saying? Where there's like, yeah, we'll let you volunteer and like, put some, hand some stuff out. But as far as like getting in the room and figuring out what our strategy is, we don't really know you like that. It can be like that. So
it was.
So Bill Lucas, what were you doing there? What did you learn? What was that feel like at that time? And then what era of Detroit we talking?
So we're talking about the 80s. 1983, I think, was when he took office. 83, 84, 85. Yeah, 83 to 86.
Okay.
And so bear in mind, this is a new form of government because at the time, Wayne County was ran by 15 commissioners. So the voters had voted to have a different type of government with a leader, like an executive, as the city, it has a mayor. So it was the beginning of this administration. So my first jobs working in the administration was actually setting up the department files and how this government is going to run from here on out.
Interesting.
So I learned that. And from there, because I had also worked with the American Red Cross in blood banking, our office manager had an assignment to do a blood drive for all the employees in the city and the county. I learned that they did their blood drives together for the employees. So he really wasn't.
He didn't have the
ready
relationships.
to do it. He didn't want to do it. He had done it before, but he was tired of it. So I said, well, I worked for the American Red Cross for 7 years, so I'll do it. So I led that with the city officials. And from there, because of the way I set up everything for the county employees, then the chief of staff came to me and asked me, would I like to fundraise with the employees for organizations like the Black United Fund, the United Fund, March of Dimes, and all that stuff. So then I became the fundraiser for the city with the employees to do that. Well, in doing this, I saw the morale was very low with the employees because they weren't ready for this type of form of government with the county executive.
Yeah.
It was a lot of pushback. And then also the county was having problems with their funding.
And I was wondering, like, if this is unprecedented, and I didn't even know that myself, that the first executive is Bill Lucas. So this is all like founding in the shadows of, like, what's the footprint of, are the Wayne County lines kind of still where they are now?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
They are. It was just that it was ran by the different commissioners, but they still kept commissioners, but they cut it down. And each commissioner has, their districts, like city council members have their districts. But the difference is to have a Wayne County executive, such as Warren Evans right now.
Yeah.
But yes, Bill Lucas was our very first Wayne County executive.
So for people that are watching this that are like, okay, what's going on? So Detroit sits inside of Wayne County, similar to, like, when you're in Los Angeles and people say LA is so big, usually they're talking about LA County, even though LA City is in LA County. It's confusing, but yes, but inside of Wayne County, Detroit sits along with a lot of other cities too, and different culture too. So definitely Detroit is extremely black, but it's other pockets where there's still a lot of black folks in Wayne County, but the culture is different. And I can only think, like, in the 80s, it'd be very, very different, as they always even say, like Western Wayne County, that's always brought up. And, like, what do they mean? Well, you don't really have like an east, but north, and just where it goes, it stretches out to the airport. And as this is just established and looking to get funding and just really buy-in from residents, do you think the people, when they voted for it, what were people looking to get from an executive that you feel like they weren't getting from the commission alone?
I think it was too many of them, for one thing.
I got you.
It was 15 commissioners at the time. Okay, and then when it went to just an executive form of government, it did operate better to me. Once I learned it from what it was as to what it became, and then actually in the county, I found there was a lot of Polish people that worked for the county. And that was surprising to me. But even though when I first moved here and I worked at Arlen's department store, I worked with a lot of Polish people.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of the names that you definitely can track. I mean, I want to say the Wayne County treasurer's I have a
Wartovich.
Yeah, I have a
Wartovich, yes.
And when you walk into Detroit, it's different. When my grandfather that bought this house with the GI Bill, because he was one of the few soldiers that got that, I guess his father or grandfather was the treasurer then.
Okay.
So, that's just
so it
Detroit
was,
history.
And then I went from that to seeing how the morale was among the employees. I came back and I spoke with the chief of staff, and I let him know that the morale was low, along with there was a negotiation between the unions for the employees about putting the employees on a 4-day work week or laying off a lot of employees. So it was finally decided that it would be a 4-day work week. Because one thing that Bill Lucas said, that he was not going to take food off of anybody's table. So they ended up with the 4-day work week for so many months, and it kind of worked itself out. So to bring the morale together, as I worked with raising funds for the Black United Fund and March of Dimes and so forth, I lifted the morale of the employees by getting them involved in those campaigns.
Okay.
And I selected committees, as you were saying, out county. So Wayne County has always been considered in county, out county. So I visited with the out county employees, in county employees, and I set up the what we call the employee programs committees.
Okay.
And then when the summer came around, we got the contractors to donate monies and products for us to have a big picnic.
Okay. And I know people like that.
I created this picnic where we all would go out to Hines Park and have a day out in the park. So that brought the morale back.
Okay.
With the people.
Okay.
You know.
So during that term, like now, I guess a lot more politically connected through working in an administration. Moving forward from there, how do you, along with like, you're doing so much at work and everything else, when do you start beginning, or you may be carrying on and continuing more of the community work that I know you for now?
When I retired.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Actually, I've been retired 3 times, but when I retired in 2009, I was working with the Sprint telecommunications. And I got a letter at my house one day about a meeting that was being held by the Eastside Community Network, but at that time it was the Warren County Coalition about the changing of the neighborhoods, because at that time, that was during the time of the housing crisis. So my neighbor and I were standing outside in the yard talking when the mail came. So I said, well, Ernie, let's go to this meeting. So we went to the meeting and we listened, and they were doing the plan on how this city was going to look after, in the residential areas, would look after the housing crisis. What type of homes would you like to see, and that type of thing. So we kept going to the meetings and doing our input to find out after 6 or 7 meetings that our resident, which is Chandler Park neighborhood, wasn't even in the impact area of Warren County Coalition. So when Maggie discovered that, we told her. And so I said, well, I've been coming all this time, and, this final decision is not going to even include my neighborhood. So they worked it out and they expanded the area.
Okay.
And so I kept working with the, volunteering, going to the meetings. And then I just eventually just started my community advocate work with the different plans that was about what our neighborhood would be like.
Okay. So it kind of started from going to these meetings, and now because you've worked in government, you've been a person that hosted meetings like this before.
Exactly.
So you kind of is definitely, Brenda Butler will let you know about reading and knowing what the rule's supposed to be. Where are you getting the information, and how are you informing other residents about some of the things that should be happening and should not be happening as you're just starting this work of advocacy?
So I went by the flyers and the different information that came into the nonprofit. But I've never gotten away from following the money. when I worked at Wayne County.
Okay.
So I could see that the community was not getting enough information on what we actually deserved and was supposed to have. So then I started running down to the city and picking up different information, reading more, staying more on top of it, started listening to the city council meetings on my computer. And that's how I got more and more involved and going to their evening meetings and so forth.
Okay. And with this more and more involvement, what response are you getting from your neighbors? What response are you getting from family? How are people starting to see as you get more involved? And this is really something that you've done really a lifetime. But as they see this iteration and you get involved, what's the response of family, friends, and neighbors?
Very grateful to know that there's information out there that they never knew. They were just elated to know some of the fundings that they were, supposed to get. And they weren't getting it. And they weren't hearing about it. And actually, I would say I really, really was very glad when we went city council by district. A lot of people are not fond of it, even to this day. But to me, city council by district gives the community a hands-on to your city council member, where whatever's discussed at the council table. Years ago, when I first started watching the city council meeting, if it was something I wanted to know, I had to call 3 or 4 people to get some information, whereas even to me, better that you only got one council member. You could still have a relationship with all the city council members, but when it comes to that information that your actual district should know about, you have that relationship with the city council member that actually lives in your district.
I think, as I've been wanting to say, that one of the things that makes council by district tough is often, I believe most people have the belief, and sometimes people running for council say this too, that council has like executive actions connected to it. Especially when you have the district manager that's connected to the mayor's office. I just wish that council was a little bit more empowered. As right now we're looking at a mayoral and city council election, and we're hearing definitely Mary Sheffield that sits as the council president that says like she definitely wants to have a very strong relationship if elected mayor with council. Reverend Kinlock, the other candidate in this race, has definitely spoke to like wanting to make sure, and he says like, yeah, council has a lot of strength and power. I guess really want your take on that, because that's where I always feel like I just wish council was a little bit more empowered to do something.
But council is empowered. They're not using their power.
Break that down for me.
Okay, so the council is responsible for following our monies, the contracts, how our budget is actually spent.
The purse strings.
Council also can write ordinances,
which are the laws for the city.
And for the residents of the city. I think what council, in my experience, what I see council doing, getting more involved with the issues that the community members have, to try to solve those issues, which is not their job. Their job is to do those contracts, make sure those contracts are correct, make sure that we have safety in our city. If I have a problem with my garbage being picked up, it should not go to a city council member. It should go to that department If you go to that department 3-4 times, you don't get an answer, then you go to the ombudsman. Council members should not be involved with what happens or not happen in our community when it comes to those type of things.
I hear you, and I would say that so many people think that's exactly what council does.
They more than anything else, and that is not. And if council would back off and just follow that money, do your job at that table, writing ordinances, going maybe back into the charter to see some of the things that wasn't, that needs to be checked, or amendments to the charter, amendments to some of these ordinances, get rid of some of the old ordinances. Then you would be serving your constituents in the neighborhoods much better.
I can definitely say, so this is a Kari Frazier opinion, not even a Detroit is different opinion, but certainly during this last 4 years and me paying more attention to the Duggan administration, especially around budgets, it's at times appeared as if like the executive office or the Duggan administration presents the budget for the city and council just kind of, I don't want to say co-sign everything, but just have a very limited amount of time to go through what could be changed, and most of whatever is written up from the executive office is already just stamped through. Do you see, and I've heard a lot of different takes on this. I've heard that like the mayor knows what's happening more so as the executive of what needs to be spent. And you got to look at the growth of what's happened during this city, during this administration. So, hey, this is why we should stamp off on it. But it definitely has felt as if council has not been as included in the budget process because it's almost like this is a document that needs to stay the same.
Well, the council also can set up budgets for the community. Like when the CDBG funds come in, they have a big voice in that. Okay, but bring it to the people in the community so that we can work together on what we want in the community when the council does have a say at the table about funding.
Okay, and you touched on something that, like, when we talk about government funding, that's very key. And I didn't even know a whole lot about it till, like, one day I was brought into a meeting. And it's like, oh, you got an organization, you need to get a block grant. And I was like, what do you mean a block grant? So, like, a community development block grant. It's definitely relationships that go up to federal administrations and state administrations, sometimes other worker sides, but a lot of money flowing through the city of Detroit kind of goes right through those block grants.
Exactly. And then when those block grant funding, when it does come from the administration to the city council, there's room for the city council to add to it.
Okay.
But we find that some of them are not doing a voice for the people. Now, in my opinion, our ARPA funds from the COVID, it was not spent fairly on the people. That money was for the people. Not brick and mortar, not the Joe Louis Greenway, not, all this stuff that has been built. And then we got people in the community that still need roofs on their homes.
That's
or flooding, their basements are flooded. Okay, so yes, that's when council,
gets
come
involved.
in and say, okay, we got this community. We need to do an assessment in my community, in my district. I'm gonna do an assessment of how many but you got the incomes. They got the incomes of their district. So you got the income, so you know what your people are going through. So just speak up for the people. I don't think that the mayor should have the opportunity to spend all the funding without the council having some word in it.
Yeah, that's kind of where we met. We met at the Tell Us Detroit Forum. It was Detroit is Different and Bridge Detroit. We partnered and we had a series of different community discussions about the ARPA funding that came to the city of Detroit. The ARPA funding, it was also very interesting because it was given during a local election where a lot of the current members now that are like in city council said we didn't even get a chance to really vote on this stuff. And here and there, it was some things that could be done, but definitely it was a lot of it's been a lot of critiques on what could have been better uses of the ARPA funding,
Exactly.
and how it could be executed, and how it could really help, as you say, a lot of the residents.
And it came as a contract
Mhm.
from the administration.
Yeah.
So the city council members had the opportunity to add to that contract, say, no, Mr. Mayor, this is not going to be good for our people. I think instead of us doing it this way, we need to do it that way. Maybe they have those type of conversations. We, the people in the neighborhood, don't know because you don't come to the table when you come in the community to let us know what's happening.
All right. So in this, you've definitely been, as you say, we're going like 2009 to now. You've gotten more and more and more involved. Whereas right now, you're actually, along with two of the other stalwart voices on the Eastside, which I'm gonna get in here too, and even others. You're looking to create a whole council of people to be in advisory of a position that I've always heard of, but didn't really know exactly what they do.
Well, I didn't create it.
Uh
You're speaking of the Community Advisory Council position.
huh.
That is an elected position here in the city of Detroit. Actually, this position was created by the Charter Commission in the 2012 charter.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was created the same year that the 2012 charter created council members by district.
Hmm.
Right now, we have 3 community advisory councils across the city. That's in District 4, 5, and 7. What we in the community have learned is that the reason that we don't have community advisory council members across the whole city is because that's not what our current administration wanted.
Mm.
They blocked out the CBCs, and they didn't want us to have community advisory councils. But what the community advisory council position is to be a liaison between the neighborhood working with the city council member.
Okay.
Why not?
Hmm.
We're in the neighborhood every day.
Hey, well, you got that right.
We know our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
We watch economy. We watch economy. We watch equity. We know what our neighbors need and should have based on the funding that comes into the city. So we should be in every district. And I'm putting a plea out to all the citizens in the city of Detroit that are not in District 4, 5, and 7. You're in all the other districts, create your community advisory council so that you can work with your city council member. The city council member only has so many employees on their staff. They have a policy analyst, community liaisons, but they can't do it all. We all got to do this together.
Yeah. And similar to the police commission, as we have police commissioners in every district. In last election, like this election, we're not even seeing police commissioners listed on the ballot for every district.
Exactly.
Which leads to appointments from a mayor.
From the administration.
And the administration already appoints a couple, which like outweighs some of the, what would I say? The, let's say like the democracy of it all. Let's just put it like that, you know? So, from this position, do you see like being involved in like a lot of the community benefits agreements and ordinances, or like what would you do?
Yes, you would you would be involved in the developments that come into your neighborhoods. You're involved with the CDBG funds, the speaking with the council member, working with the council member.
Okay.
For when a developer comes into the city and they're going to be in our community, that gives it an opportunity for the city council member to have the advisory council members to speak with, to inform us that this development is coming, what it's going to be all about, so we could go talk with the neighbors ahead of time. You know, because, you know, most of these community benefits agreement is supposed to have input from the community so that we could get the benefit from a development, correct?
Yes.
So if a developer comes in and say, oh, I met with
the community.
Okay, well, who were they?
And that,
were they the Mac Block Club? Were they the Eastside Drive Association? Where are the neighbors? What did you meet with? What did you talk to them about? And that's not happening.
That what you speak of has definitely been something raised from some of the developments that I've seen, where community has felt definitely left out of a lot of these discussions. Some of the Henry Ford development,
Exactly.
right now, there's discussions of the Detroit Football Club stadium that's looking to be built.
It's soccer.
Yes, and even as the discussions start for what will happen with the training facility for the WNBA Sparks that'll be coming back, and some of those discussions are starting now. But it's also it's interesting because, you know, and this is something that is championed by many, but Detroit is one of those cities where a community benefits agreement needs to be made if your development is over a certain amount of money. But also a lot of these developments are given tax abatements. So they're not necessarily given money from a city, but they're not gonna pay on it. So it's like one of those things where, like, you know, like they often say like, we're not giving them any money, but it's like, if I don't have to pay taxes for 25 years because I offer these quote unquote jobs, and oftentimes those jobs never are manifested, but this community benefits agreement relied a lot on it, it just starts feeling as though neighbors are being exploited for the resources of the city. And that's where a lot of people in community definitely feel as though we're not getting our end of the bargain.
We're not, because just bring everybody to the table. That's all. That's what equity is.
Yeah.
It's everyone at the table. We don't need to be at the table all at the same time, but we need to be at the table.
Yeah.
And we need to know if a developer comes in, whatever their plans are, we, like with the Community Advisory Council, that's where we would come in.
Yeah.
We're going to read it too. It might be something that our city council member might miss. That we could say, oh no, we'd like to see the developer do this, or why would they bring this to the table?
Yeah.
So let's all have a discussion. Let's be at the table so that our neighborhood can grow.
Yep.
And thrive.
Definitely. And different things that often people aren't thinking of, because usually it's always push jobs.
And it's not jobs. I wish they'd stop talking about jobs. Our people want careers. Careers is the name of the game right now, not jobs.
Yep. That's usually what's uplifted, but it supersedes sometimes for like truck traffic flow, other pollutants into environments. Also, just oftentimes even the jobs, it's just never met. That's one of the things that a lot of the administrations definitely admit to, that you can look in the stats through the CRIO department that, I mean.
And I'm glad you mentioned CRIO. Do you have any idea how many employees are in CRIO?
When I saw the holiday photo, it was a lot more folks than I was thinking. It was, I counted, looks, let's put it like this. They could play full court basketball and have some fans in the stands.
9 people? 12 people, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you aware that every development in this city has to go after the agreement is made for the go ahead, that CRIO is supposed to monitor all of those benefits?
Yes, I
So
definitely
do you think
know.
that's enough people?
I think that from reading the report this year, and I felt like it was honest, it was just sad. I don't know if it's enough, but I definitely know that a lot of these developments are not holding up their end of the bargain at all.
But what happens to them when they don't?
They're said to pay fines, but
Where does the money go to from the fines? What pot does it go in?
Yeah.
Whose budget does it go in?
Now that I can't give you those answers.
So, like I say, those are the type of things that we as community we should know. Because I followed the Stellantis agreement.
Yeah.
And through CRIO, it was not done properly. It was not done on a quarterly basis. We still have Stellantis agreed for a manufacturing training program to take place at Wayne County Community College Eastern District campus that has not started yet.
Yeah.
And the benefits agreement was in 90s, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
2000, whatever.
Yeah.
So, come on. So they put their money in. They said this is what we want. But the city is not pushing for that manufacturing training to go on. And right now, we got young people that needs to be out here learning these jobs about robotics and EV vehicles.
Yeah.
That could have been a training that's been done over 3-4 years ago.
And from that position, you'll be able to uplift a lot of that.
So from this position, yes, I can uplift it. Or I can say, what's happening with this?
Yeah.
Why is this money sitting over here? Because the money is sitting there, so it's been put in somebody's bank, and it is growing interest.
Yeah. I see. I follow. As I say, Brenda Butler's on it.
So it's a lot of things that, we could do better, working with our elected officials. It's not going to be hard. It's not hard to do.
Yeah.
We all instead of talking at each other, we got to talk with each other.
Okay. And you've developed a crew of folks that are looking to move into this. How did you go about just organizing some of the other organizers?
Well, for one thing, I know that we have a lacking in the city with our Veterans Affairs Division, which the city just started. So I have been going to meetings with Detroit. What's the little group called with Detroit? With Snyder. Brandon Snyder was with this organization. I can't call the name of it right now. But anyway, I met this guy. He's a veteran.
Okay.
He's very active. He's very active in veteran affairs and veterans getting their correct benefits.
Okay.
And he's very active in the community. So we talked about, being a part of this CAC. Edith Ford is with Mac Development. She has a real good following in the community, making certain with the HOPE program that the citizens know about property tax exemption. We have LaJuan Council, who is the director of the Detroit disaster flood recovery that has been working with the community with FEMA, bringing FEMA into the city, speaking with having FEMA. We got funds for the people.
Yeah.
You know, and that was really a shame with FEMA. When FEMA came into the community, we had never had a disaster in this city like that from the flood.
Yeah.
We didn't know what to expect. The water department wanted us to do claims. We did our claims, everything, so fine. And they came and told us they couldn't help us.
Yeah. It was definitely...
That FEMA is coming, and FEMA came and whatever, but we never knew. Our homes were built with basements to do whatever you wanted with your basement. You could live in your basement, you could do your laundry in your basement, whatever. So a lot of our families have living quarters in our basements. So that was our biggest loss.
Yeah.
FEMA doesn't cover that. Why weren't we told by our local government before FEMA came, federal government, the things that we could actually claim?
Yeah. That was definitely the flooding, and it still exists, but that's definitely still been the Detroit Water Department, like the Spider-Man meme. It's like Detroit's pointing at Gleewa, Gleewa's pointing at Detroit, both people pointing at the federal government. They're saying it's old infrastructure. They're also saying that, what was the biggest quote was they said like, hey, this is a like 100-year reign. And it seems like we've had that 100-year reign maybe about 4 times in the past 5 years. So we got to change that, or adjust to climate change. But
and flooding has damaged our infrastructure in our homes.
Yes.
So it's not just about flooding, So, but we're gonna work on it. We're gonna get better in that in our great city.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're gonna get better, and we have a Kevin Trotter who works with the young boys in the community in recreation, football, and PAL, and so forth. So that's our young connection.
Okay.
And also, a 13-year-old to a 17-year-old can be appointed by the city council member to join the advisory council.
Well, that would...
we are going to love.
Which I was going to say, that kind of puts you back into like back when you started was around that same age. So I guess that'll that carries on the baton, as they say.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna be very interesting. Working with our council member, working with our neighbors, working with the concerns, a new administration. For the next 4 years, I think we're going to have some fun.
I think no matter what, it's definitely going to be something because everybody knows that Brenda Butler. So if a person wants to support you, what district are you running in? Where should they put that ballot vote?
Okay, I am running in District 4, and all Community Advisory Council candidates are write-in. It's a write-in ballot for District 4, 5, and 7. To vote for me, my name, write it in, Brenda Faye Butler.
Okay.
That's BrendaFaye Butler, coal miner's daughter, working for us.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So with that, we get into a close, and we got to hit you with the classic Detroit is Different questions now. All right. So the first one, your very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
Oh, a Volkswagen.
Okay.
Volkswagen Beetle.
Okay. All right. All right. And when did you get it?
I think mine was a 60. No, not 66, 70. maybe a 71, 72,
Okay.
72 Beetle.
Okay, where's the first place you went when you got it?
Belle Isle.
Oh, there we go. All right.
When I left Belle Isle, I drove every freeway.
Oh, man.
I connected with every freeway. And
Okay.
yeah.
All right, I love it. Next question. You're the DJ at the end of the Detroit fireworks, Woodward and Jefferson. What 2 songs you playing?
DJ at the end of the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Detroit.
Okay, that's one.
End of the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this party started. Is that the name?
Okay. All right, we rocking. Okay, so you're going to get them off with some Sammy Davis, so then we're going to go get the party started. All right, and then the last question, all right, because even though you are for sure a Detroit daughter by now, I mean, as long as you've been here, but I'm still going to ask you the question as if you're not. Okay. An alien spaceship lands in front of your house. E.T. hops out and he's like, yo, take me to the most Detroit place you can take me. Where you and E.T. going?
First, I'll be scared of E.T.
E.T. cool. He cool. You know what I'm saying? He gonna be like, hey, what up, though? And then they're gonna be like, okay.
The African American Museum.
All right, Charles Wright.
Charles H. Wright Museum.
Okay, so he gonna learn about some history.
Exactly.
Learn about some history. Speaking of history, like laid to state, Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick, there this past week. Definitely rest in peace. You're probably going to hear me talk about her more and more the rest of this year, as she was definitely one of those dream guests here. But one heck of a legislature about getting resources to a district. Actually, the shadow still stands, like where I still see stuff. And I'm not just talking about in Detroit, but like Dearborn and other places where it's like, man, Carolyn Cheeks was getting things to a district. As you talk about legislators knowing how to use purse strings, she was one of the most effective I've ever seen. With that, thank you so much.
Let me just say this, though.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace, the Honorable Congresswoman Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick. But what I like to say to you, Kari, that I am very disappointed about.
What?
Is that the American flag has not been lowered at the state capitol in honor of her works.
Wow, I didn't even know that. You are right, because boy, when I talk about, man, I'm gonna have to dedicate a show just for the stuff that I know, but let alone. But you're right, she definitely deserves that honor, because, yeah, boy.
So where are people at?
Yeah, you're right. But it's coming. It's coming, because it's a lot of, always you got a politicians in when they running, and it's a lot of them running for things right now. So it's time for us to stay in their ear and make sure that we are heard, and you are definitely on the grounds for that. Also, thank you so much for helping with the collard green cook-off.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I was in my zone with the people.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Yeah.
Greeting the people with Toya Watts. We had a ball.
Oh, it was always fun.
The children.
Always fun.
It was great.
Yes, and we're going to be doing more of that, because, yes, Brenda's, as we say, like part of the Grandma Street team that we get down with.
Yeah.
We rolling with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Peace out.
Detroit is different.